two birds with one stone there. You burn old nuclear waste, then you generate power. It sounds fantastic. Next, we're going to hear from Greg Dunn, who's getting his inspiration from deep inside the earth.
I want an energy superhero. I want an energy resource that makes me happy when I turn on the lights. I want to be able to start my truck, light up my big screen, have long hot showers, and never feel guilty about any of it. I want to know that I'm leaving an energy legacy behind that my kids don't go, "Thanks, Dad." I want energy projects that people get excited about, that politicians want to cut ribbons for. I want people to have the same reaction to energy they do when astronauts land on the moon. I've been talking with some of you in this room, and I think you want that too. So what kind of energy inspires us? What makes us get excited about going to see a ribbon cutting for a brand new nuclear power plant or an incredibly new wind and solar technology? Well, the list is actually pretty short. It includes pretty much everything. First, it needs to be inexhaustible. Call it renewable, call it whatever you want. It just better never run out. No empty gauge whatsoever. I'm talking billions of years of heat, power, lighting. I should be able to do it all, and I want it to never run out. It should be clean. No spills, no water contamination, no forests decimated, no air pollution, no missing mountaintops, no cancer-causing anything. Remember, this is a superhero of energy. We want it to have an environmental footprint so small you don't even see it. We want to know that we never have to pay to clean it up. You know what? Even better, let's not have it make a mess in the first place. I want it all the time. This power source needs to be available to us anytime I want it. I never want to turn on my lights and have nothing happen. No shortages, no brownouts, no rolling blackouts, no intermittency. Power 24/7, 365. The middle of a Tuesday night or Stanley Cup final. These things better work. I need it to be local. I want to know where my energy is coming from. I don't want to watch the news and read about or hear about some crazy foreign dictator getting rich from my energy resource. I don't want to find out that my energy was shipped from some pristine remote forest. Wouldn't it be great if you knew that your energy resource came from down the street where your kids play, or that you actually met your local power developer at the grocery store? Oh, and one more, and this one's kind of important. I don't want to pay for it. I want it to be reasonable. I know it's my power, I'm going to pay for it, but I want this price to be respectable. I don't want to be taken to the cleaners by my energy resource just because it's clean. Oh, and stable. I don't want it based on some crazy commodity price that I get one bill one month and twice the bill the next month and then half the bill the next after. I'm thinking 20, 30-year contracts. So who's with me? Who thinks that this power source is a pretty good one? Right? This is the type of thing, you have projects like this, people talk about media coverage, everyone gets behind this sort of thing. It's the type of power or development projects that inspire people to get behind the energy sector. I would say one of the biggest things that we come across in our industry and most of us is that people just don't seem to care about energy. It's just not that big a deal. So we want something that people are actually going to go out of their way to say, this is a good idea, I can get behind this. So this is a nice idea. It's a beautiful concept. But I think what's important here is that we actually think about what we want so that we know how to go get it. I've been looking for my energy resource since my time working as a geologist in the oil sands. And I think I found it. I uncovered that geothermal energy is one of the energy resources we very seldom talk about. And why is that? I have yet to figure that out. We have an incredible resource right beneath our feet. Our beautiful blue speck in space has all the energy we will ever need in the form of heat. It's geothermal. It means earth heat. But heat, for most of the people in the audience, is just a form of energy. And the top 1% of our planet has enough energy to power and heat civilization for approximately the next 6 billion years. 6 billion years. So what's the source of this heat? Similar to some of the nuclear programs we've seen, it's a radioactive decay of potassium, thorium, uranium, and it gives our planet about 70 or 80% of its heat generation capability. Now, don't get nervous. It's okay. It's been doing this for about 4.5 billion years already and completely natural. It's been used in many different applications. The one that most people think of is geo-exchange. So the heating and cooling applications that are under, some innovative buildings, new housing. I actually work on the other side of this equation. I'm involved in geopower. This is converting the deep heat resources and steam production to produce electricity. If you don't think this is a new and innovative technology, we've been doing this in Italy since 1904. This is, by most definitions, would classify as a mature technology. So how much heat are we talking about? Internal heat content of 10 to the 31 joules. This is a lot of heat resource. To put it in perspective, I brought an apple. Planet Earth. At our core, it would be about the same temperature as the surface of the sun. So your apple seeds are about 6,000 degrees Celsius in this example. With a radius of 6,300 kilometers from the skin right to my seeds, I have the deepest drill ever in Russia as actually about 12.3 kilometers thick. Incredible piece of science, incredible piece of drilling. It would not have cracked the skin. It only went about a third of the way into the continental crust. In terms of this, I like to think we don't have an energy shortage. We have an exorbitant amount of energy resource. It's the cheap and easy stuff that seems to be eluding us. So how does this work? How do you turn Earth heat into actual power you can put online? Well, as my CEO likes to put, very bright geologists and very, very bold financiers. But the technical side of it, and in a 10-minute presentation, you're getting the elevator version. You need to find a heat resource as close as you can to the surface. Now, the heat is everywhere, as we've talked about, but the hotter and the shallower you can drill for this resource, the more likely your project's going to be cost competitive. Even better if you can locate the resource under a power line in a market that's going to pay you top dollar for your clean, renewable baseload power. You drill production and injection wells after you've gotten the financing to do so, which again is probably one of the toughest things that we face in the geothermal industry, at which point you're moving up your production well, so your beautiful Earth has heated your water, and moving up the production well into your power facility. In this example, the emission you see here is actually just water vapor. So we're in a position where for flash steam turbine production, it's water vapor. In binary systems, and we'll talk about that in a sec, there is actually almost no emissions associated. At this point, we've been able to produce the power, put it online, local market, and then be able to send the cooled water back into the injection system, at which point it trickles through our formation and reheats. Looks pretty simple, right? Except my formations actually probably look like this, if not worse. The technical side of the geology can be quite challenging, but at the end of the day, with a bit of homework and the right financing, these programs can run technically forever. The idea is that if I design my program correctly, I can actually remove less heat than the Earth is providing. It's almost like having more inventory than I'll ever sell. The binary unit for the Canadian market is something that we're, as Borealis Geopower, is likely going to be involving. And this is a good example. This turbine technology has advanced quite a bit in the last number of years. And what we're seeing is that they'll be able to bring these temperatures down. With this type of system, we can actually develop power from temperature water below 80 degrees Celsius, 74 degrees in Chena, Alaska at the moment. So let's see, how did my superhero as geothermal hold up? Inexhaustible. We're not talking about 7 generations of heat. We're not talking about a 30 or 40-year lifespan. Projects like the one in Italy have been running for 100 years, and we have billions of years of heat resource in our planet. So I think inexhaustible, I get a pass. Is it clean? Well, as I pointed out, the flash systems have low emissions. The binary turbine technology that we're hoping to implement in the Canadian market would actually have no emissions. The water is recycled in the system, so it works more like a backpack than the actual source itself. And the environmental footprint is so small because we bury most of our infrastructure. So you actually don't get to see too much at a binary turbine power plant. So, am I clean? Yes. I have no waste product. I think I'm doing pretty well on the clean side. 24/7, 365. Now this is sort of our bragging point as a resource, is that renewable energy takes usually a couple cheap shots for its intermittency. Geothermal is one of the few renewable resources that actually puts power out consistently at a 90% base load capacity. So 90% of the time these things are producing the power that they are capable of producing for existing facilities in the worldwide today. This puts us at the very top end of power when you want it. Local, I have to say this might be the kryptonite in my renewable energy resource, because one of the issues we have is that we're too local. In many cases, I can't ship my resource as an energy supply. So electricity is very much a perishable good. The further I have to ship it, the less likely I'm going to get the price point I want for it. As a geologist, it's so much easier to drill for commodities, because I can put them in a bucket and put them in a tank, and I can ship them where I get the best price. This isn't a reality for geothermal. So in many cases, Ontario might be a good example, that power price might be just too expensive. But in areas like BC, Idaho, Utah, these are all areas that the development of geothermal has taken a little bit longer to move forward, but they have the potential resource to be an incredible power opportunity. This one might surprise some people. Real levelized cost for geothermal electricity, actually about 4.5 to 7 cents a kilowatt hour. Who's surprised by that? Yeah, we're sneaking in the back door, a little bit of a dark horse. The problem is that you put all your money up front. So this is, in many cases, by the financier community, considered a high-risk event. But the advantage is by doing that, we actually create an environment where we've taken all the risk, and then it slowly plays out to be quite a safe choice and quite a cost-effective choice. You just have to have the financiers that are willing to take the initial risk to develop. A couple of good examples of places where sort of we've tapped the lowest hanging fruit. In California, geothermal, as we heard earlier, actually produces almost 5% of their power supply. And they're running pricing in that area from about 3 to 3.5 cents a kilowatt hour. In Iceland, geothermal energy costs less than 2 cents a kilowatt hour. And it gives them about 50% of their power for the island. So am I cheap? Am I stable? Yep. Long-term pricing is actually to the advantage of a geothermal developer. So I'm giving you long, cheap, stable pricing. If you're skeptical, let's just look at what the rest of the world's doing with this. Approximately 3,100 megawatts in the US market. Iceland, I've mentioned. There's a number of projects developing in Latin America, Germany, New Zealand, Japan. And in all, there's over 10,000 megawatts online capacity right now in 24 different countries and supplying 60 million people with baseload, renewable, clean power. Now, my pitch is geothermal. It's the field I work in, but I think it's really important that any energy resource that can fulfill these points will be classified as an energy superhero. If you can be renewable, clean, baseload, if you can give us inexpensive and stable power, this is something that will inspire, and this will invite people to get involved in the energy sector, to be supportive, and to actually motivate the type of change that is really, really necessary for our planet right now. I'm passionate about this because I want to give the next generation an energy legacy to be proud of. In my mind, that includes geothermal. So for me, my superhero energy choice is geothermal.
Thank you, Craig.